All right, we should be good to go. It's all yours, Fred.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We got quite a few things to cover on the finance agenda tonight. So we'll start off with 2021 occupational tax bills. As you know, at the end of last year, we faced the dilemma of trying to find someone to print our tax bills. Our longtime printer over in Lancaster stopped running tax bills. So our tax collector, Jerry Ann Spangler, was able to get the data from the county tax office, and she was able to run the bills. And between herself and her husband and Jody, they were able to get the bills sorted and mailed. And so the occupational tax bills did go out. By doing it in-house, we did save $1,200 in printing costs. So I think we have the process down pretty well right now, so that for next year in 2022, it should not be a problem to once again do the bills and mail them out. So thanks to Jerry Ann and George Spangler, and also to Jody for their work in getting the tax bills done. Back on our agenda from 2019 is a request from Public Works to replace our line striper and curb painter. We were scheduled to do this last year. When the virus hit, we cut back on spending, and they repaired the unit and got through much of last year with it. I went to use it this year, and now the pump is acting up again. They're afraid to run it to paint lines. So we've taken a price. We had a price. We got an updated price from Sherwin-Williams, and the cost is, it went up by $200. It's $3,700 for a line striper, which will also paint curbs, crosswalks, and parking legends, stop bars, things like that. This cost is eligible from our highway aid fund, and it was in our capital budget for next year. So we would be moving it forward for this year if everyone is in agreement. Are there any questions about that? If not, Scott, put that down as a recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Randy?
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Hello, Mayor. The next proposal is from Carrot Top Industries. It's one we face every year, replacement of our flags and banners. And the costs are up a little bit this year. So we have an option. We can go with strictly the replacement of the flags and banners that we do every year. That would be about $1,800. Or go with an additional 9 new banners, and the cost on that would be $677. So would bring our cost total up to $2,400. What does the Finance Committee wish to do?
Do we need the new banners?
Well, the banners from last year were worn. Many of them were ripped. We generally get about 3 years out of them, and they're up from April through October. So they're pretty well shot after 2-3 years.
So you think they do need to be replaced?
Yeah, the ones that we took down were no longer serviceable.
Well, then I
So-
agree.
So Fred, the quality wise, compared to what the school got last year, are they comparable?
They're vinyl. I don't know how many ounce the vinyl material is, but they're the heavier vinyl. And we've been finding by buying them from Carrot Top, we're getting about 3 years out of them. We could go with,
Well, I think the prices of those were half of what the Carrot Top was.
you know, I mean, we don't have to buy the banners from Carrot Top.
Can you
Flag sets,
mute me? Yeah.
the flag sets are,
Yeah, I don't know about the flag.
that's what we really need.
Yeah. I mean, I would say go ahead and get the flag sets because we really need those. And, you know, I mean, there's prices for the banners. I don't know. They just seem.
Do you have a contact for the banners, the company that did the school banners?
Yeah, I can send that to you.
Let's just get the flags for now and get them up for Memorial Day. And at the next meeting, we can talk about banners and compare the prices. How's that?
That sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
So that, Scott, would be $1,800 for Carrot Top for flags. We need some cross poles. We need some flag holders for poles. So it includes some hardware too. Now, the only banners we're getting there would be the We Support Our Troops, which are custom made by Carrot Top.
I think Jody's having a problem. Are you good, Jody? There you are.
There she is. Okay, so the next item, we opened bids on March 12th for the North Corporation Street project. We had two bidders. The low bidder was Jerry Slusser from Carlisle, who bid $151,664. And the other bidder was New Enterprise, $228,500. The Slusser bid was not complete in that it lacked HUD documents that are necessary in order for the bid to be qualified. So we went back to Jerry and asked him to resubmit those documents, which he did. And he also changed his price. He submitted a new bid. And so you can't do that. Once a bid is open, they're sealed bids. Once they're open, the bid is final. You cannot change it. So upon the advice of our engineer, what we would like council to do is reject the bids and rebid the project. And hopefully have an opening date in late May so that we could still get this work done in the summer. We might also have to take a look at the scope of the project, see if we can pare back any of the expenses, because this did end up coming in higher than what we anticipated by our engineer's estimate. It came in about $31,000 higher than what Tim had projected. So that's a recommendation for now, to reject both bids and rebid.
Okay.
The next item is bid tabulation for the patrol car. And we have two proposals. One is from Kovach Ford and Nesca Honing, and their bid is $49,419.11. They did offer a 5-year lease at a rate of 3.74%, with the total annual payments of $11,021.36. The low bidder is McGuire's Ford of Palmyra. McGuire's bid is $47,200. We looked at a financing option through Ford Motor Credit. And again, it came in comparable to the the price of the vehicle from Kovach. We also had a proposal from Mid-Penn Bank. Mid-Penn Bank offered to finance 80% of the vehicle if the borough made a 20% down payment. So we do have money budgeted for this car this year to make the payment. We actually have $6,900 budgeted for the debt service. So my recommendation is that we go with the Mid-Penn Bank loan of $37,760, and that we make a down payment of $9,440 to purchase the vehicle. Now, I'd also recommend that we're going to get to this later in the meeting. We're going to talk about some of the money that is coming to the borough through the American Recovery Act, which is the stimulus money that was just approved last month. And so we know that we will be receiving about $133,000 from that package of funding. And I would recommend that we use, again, $9,500 to make the down payment. So this will actually then free up in your general fund budget $6,900 this year that you could use for other items. And then you could continue on, do your financing for the next 4 years and pay off the car. We've always had good results working with Mid-Penn, and I think they could probably turn the loan around in 30 days, just as you would a lease, maybe sooner. Are there any questions about the patrol car or the financing?
So would the monthly payment be relatively close to where we're at now?
The annual payment is still going to be around $10,000, which we're at $7,000, so we're going to have to come up with in the future about $3,000 more a year to make the payment. So how will we do that? Well, the 2017 vehicle pays off next year.
Okay.
Pays off early in January. And then we have an equipment loan with Mid-Penn Bank right now that the Borough Council took out for public works equipment. And there are 13 payments left on that loan. And that loan is $1,300 a month for the equipment. So within the next year and a half, you're going to have 2 items of debt service that will mature and will free up, quite a bit of your general fund. So in answer to your question, I know it's a long response, Scott, but I think it will be easy for the borough to make up that difference from those 2 loans that will be paid off. In other words, you're just going to, take debt service that you have now and reapply it to the new car loan. Actually, you'll have a surplus.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mayor or Chief, do you have anything to add on the car?
Just to stress, I've already instructed the chief that the Dodge Charger is not to be used for everyday patrol work, because it's no longer safe. Half the time the siren doesn't work. The electronic citation equipment doesn't work. There's shorts all through the electrical system. We've had it rewired twice and have never really had a long stretch where it has worked. The rear bumper and part of the left rear fender are held together with duct tape. And it's an 11-year-old car. The real issue is it has put additional stress on the 2013 SUV as a daily patrol car. With a new patrol vehicle, the 2013 would become the reserve patrol vehicle, and would extend its life probably through the time period it would take the borough to pay for the new car. If we don't do that, if we don't do the new car, I guarantee you in a year or so down the road, you're going to have to buy two because it's going to kill the 2013, and the Charger is already useless as a day-to-day patrol vehicle. It isn't safe. And when you have a guy who's 6'6" and the other two are 6'4", they can barely get in the car. The chief essentially uses the Charger just to run around town, make contact with people. But as I said, I've already instructed, it is not to be used as a daily patrol vehicle because it is not safe.
So Fred, the Mid-Penn Bank purchase again, what were those numbers, just so I have it for the motion?
So the Mid-Penn Bank would be actually financing $37,760, $37,760 at 3.5% for 4 years. And American Rescue Plan grant would give us a 20% down payment of $9,500.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? A couple items that aren't on the agenda.
Oh, well, Fred, I'm sorry. Could I just ask you a question about the, under the American Rescue Plan, you've got a $1,000 item for the library and a $1,000 item for the EDA?
Yeah, I'd like to hit on all that at one time later in the agenda here, Jack.
Okay, sounds good.
It's about 2 or 3 items down. But thank you. The next item, we have money budgeted in our capital budget this year to resurface Church Alley and some spot patching around town. So we took bids, and the low bid was Capital Area Paving, which is owned by Dylan Griffey, who is a resident of the borough, lives on Buchanan Street. His price to pave Church Alley is $12,500, which includes equipment and materials. And we actually have budgeted $19,000 this year. So there are 2 other areas that need to be patched. And Ed's not here yet, but I'm sure you all know that the area that I'm talking about on Big Spring Ave, up from the fountain, right in front of 36 and 38 Big Spring Ave. We have a seam at that location that's come out. It's been unraveling every year. We patch it and patch it. It needs to be milled out and repaired. His price to repair that is $2,400. And we have another bad spot across from the firehouse in front of the Presbyterian Church, which he estimates $3,600. So between the Church Alley and the spot repairs would be $18,392. That's $18,392. I'm sorry, $892. $18,892. And again, that would be funded from our capital budget this year, where we do have $19,000 allocated for street repairs. I would not have him do this until it gets a little bit warmer, maybe May or June, have him come in and start this. Are there any questions about the asphalt repairs?
What was the name of his company again?
Capital Area Paving Incorporated. Last year, we took a price to repair the guide wire support cable at the traffic light. PA Perks had provided a quote of $3,500 to repair the span wire. In looking at that and looking at their inspection report, there's a couple splices in that. If you've been up at the intersection and looked at the signal heads going south on High Street, you'll see one of the signal heads is moved. So I talked to Perks, and their price, they'll hold their price of $3,500 to come in and replace the cables and to reset the signals in the proper positions, tighten up all the signal heads, check over all the wiring for $3,500. This can be paid out of your highway aid funds, and that's where we were going to take the money from last year.
Can they hang their signs up on there?
They would do that at the same time that they're in doing everything else. And we have the signs, so there's no additional cost.
You said that was 3,500, right?
3,500 even.
And who was that to again?
Pennsylvania Perks, P-E-R-C-S. Any questions about that work?
I just
Moving on
want
to
to
the
caution
next-
on those wires that if we go ahead and do that, some of our camera wires run along that cabling. So we'd have to work there with CIA to pull our video cable wires down temporarily till they would get the new ones up and have to rerun. But
as I understand this, talking to Sharon, they would do a section at a time. And so we can coordinate that with CIA, let them know when they're doing the work, and they can come up. And do they just cross there between Pino's and Dr. Miller's, or does it go across?
I think it
would.
crosses from the laundromat over to Doc Miller's. I think that's the only place it goes across. And they're just, as far as I know, just zip tied on there.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be a big deal.
Well, I'll let you know when Perks is coming up. They'll give us advance notice because they will want to have traffic control, and they'll make sure they notify us. I'll pass it on as soon as I know when they're coming in. Anything else on the traffic light cable? If not, the next item is for informational purposes. You previously authorized the grant application to the Cumberland County Conservation District for the Dirt and Gravel Roads Program. I did make that application last week. We are requesting $11,962 to continue and resurface Finley Street, and also to replace a cross drain pipe on Finley, and to repave or to pave for the first time the dead end section of Parsonage Street extended. And once these are resurfaced, these two streets are the only remaining dirt alleys in the borough. So maintenance of those roads would become a lot better once they're resurfaced. There's no matching funds required. The only thing we have to do is provide in-kind services, putting in the cross drain and grading the roads prior to paving. Any questions on the grant application? So the next item, and Jack had talked about this earlier, and we mentioned it on the subject of the patrol car, but there's now a stimulus package that has passed the Congress, and it's known as the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And you will probably hear a lot about this in the coming months and even into 21 and 22, because it is a multi-year funded program. We have received notification that the borough will receive grant funds of $133,175. So prior to the receipt of the funds, Scott and I started to make a list of just projects that we've discussed, needs of the borough. And of course, like anything else, when you add all those things up, it's a pretty hefty bill. We were hoping for 484,000. We fell a little short, 133,175. But as they say, it's better than nothing. So we've had to pare back our request, try to spread as much of this money around to all the departments of the borough and address as many needs as we can. And this is what we've come up with. Initially, we were hoping to fund the entire purchase of the patrol car out of the grant. As I said earlier, we would be using the grant for $9,500 to make the down payment. We were hoping to purchase a new dump truck. Public Works crew is happy to get a used four-wheel drive dump truck. And so we've set aside $10,000, and we would be looking at municipal. We had pretty good success in finding some other vehicles on municipal. And I think within that price, we can certainly find a truck. We looked at new municipal building equipment, but the cost of that is just too much. And so we've zeroed that out, but we will be talking more about that next Tuesday night at the work session. One of the items that we were hoping to fund was Christmas lighting, but again, we don't have enough money, so that has been zeroed out. One of the projects that we felt strongly about is a curb and sidewalk grant repair program. And this is something that we would like to see the borough start. We understand there might be some matching funds that we could tap into at the county level, but we would like to see the borough start this at a level of $50,000, and we would use that money to make grants up to $3,500 per household for 5 years. These would be zero interest grants, and as they're repaid, loans, as these are repaid back to the borough, the money would be loaned out again to other households, residents of the borough. So what you would do with this $50,000 is create a revolving loan fund. Now, how would that work? We would use our engineer to go out. We would target certain areas of the borough as you have picked certain streets. The engineer would, we would receive a request from a homeowner. The engineer would go out, do a measurement, and provide a cost estimate. Up to $3,500 of that cost estimate would then be funded. We would have an agreement between the borough and the homeowner for the repayment of the loan. And what we would do then is retain a contractor who would be selected through a borough bid process. And we would pay that contractor directly. So none of the monies would actually go to the homeowner. They would have the responsibility to repay them. We would pay the money directly to the contractor. Before we would make the payment to the contractor, the borough engineer would go back and inspect the sidewalk, inspect the curb for workmanship, compliance with the ordinances and so forth. And then the engineer would provide a release to Borough Council to pay the funds. So that's what we have in mind for the curb and sidewalk program. At the community park, we've been discussing with the Recreation Commission improvements. One of the items is the press box and maintenance building. We would like to replace the existing press box and maintenance building. Cost for that would be about approximately $10,000. We would like to put new roofs on the two pavilions. The roofs on those structures are between 20 and 25 years old. We would like to go with steel roofs. We would also like to get that concession stand opened up down at the park with a fire suppression hood. And the ball team has requested a scoreboard. So those items would all be done hopefully at the cost of $25,000. We were hoping to pay off some existing loans and leases. We do not have enough funds for that at this time, so those items were zeroed out. We did include a $10,000 allocation to EDA to pay for mini grants for small businesses that might have an interest in opening in the borough. These funds could be used for anything from signs to window treatments, facade improvements, paint, things like that. And as you can see, due to the fact that our bids came in higher, we are going to have to shift some money into the North Corporation Street project, and our estimate there was for 30,000, and after everything has been allocated, we can still allocate 28,675. So that is the basic plan that we've put together. There's no need to take action on this tonight, and we've not received the funds yet, and we have only received very basic guidelines for the funds. So my recommendation is that you look over everything once we receive the funds, and we'll come back and have a more meaningful discussion about how they will be allocated. And also we will then have guidelines in hand from the US Treasury that we will have to follow. So some of this may change. Any questions on the budget that we put together for the American Rescue Plan? Okay, the next item that I have is we have Alpha Space Control has given us some prices on crosswalks. And Chief, I don't know if any of your Vascar lines need to be replaced, or you want any painting work done?
I'd have to double check, but I don't think we're gonna need anything as far as the speed lines go.
So the areas that Dave had suggested, Chief, the crosswalks at the red light, crosswalks at Jamie Lee's on South High Street need to be done. And then the question from council is the parking space lines on Main Street, High Street. And do you want those to be included on Big Spring Ave, because we wanted to take care of the parking issues there with the daycare center. My thought was just to have Alpha Space come in, do the traffic light, the crosswalks on High, and then the parking space.
Yeah, if we don't have good equipment to do that right now, we might as well use them.
Their price to do everything would be, with materials and manpower, $2,500. How do you?
And we
You
can't
wanna
do that
change
with
that
our line.
scope?
We can't do that with our line painter.
Well, we can't, we could do the parking spots. Those bars are painted with paint, but the crosswalks are a thermoplast, which they're using liquid thermoplast, and we don't have an applicator for that.
Okay.
But we could paint the stall lines on Main Street, and that would take about $600. Main Street and High Street is $600 that we could take off the estimate. That knocks it down to $1,900. We could paint those with our striper once we get it.
I would say, I mean, they're just going to use paint too. So
Yeah.
I would say just use our guys and our striper once we get it. I mean, when do you expect that striper to be in?
I think we could probably have it in 30 days and get some nice warm weather. End of April, go in and paint everything, do one side of the street, sweep it, and then follow up that same day and paint it.
Works for me.
How's that sound? And we'll still have Alpha Space do the red light and the crosswalks. Okay? We did sign the purchase order for new handguns, 5 handguns for the police department. And that was at a cost of $2,890. And I think Chief has funds on hand to pay for that. The
Correct.
question is, Chief, how much will you need now for your holsters and ammo pouches?
Probably in the neighborhood of 500 or 600.
Now, do you have enough ammunition, or do you need to buy more ammunition too?
I was able to find duty ammunition, but I still haven't been able to find any practice ammo at all.
So here's my recommendation. Tax money is starting to come in, and I'd like authorization for the controller to transfer $1,000 to the chief's debit card, and that'll cover the holsters and the ammo pouches. He can order those directly, and that will still give him some money if they can find ammunition. The reason for this is if the chief finds the ammunition, he has to buy it that day. If we have to wait for a meeting, or it'll be gone.
It's gone
So-
within minutes. You have to
Yep.
be sitting on it ready to push the button, or it's gone right now.
So this money would just sit on the police department debit card, would be used for those items. Does anyone have any objections to that?
Nope, I don't.
Okay, once we make the transfer, Chief, we'll let you know, probably be Tuesday of next week.
Okay.
The next items are just informational items for you. Tim Bossock will be attending your May 4th work session with Paul Pugilis, and Paul and Tim are from Brown and Brown. They will be coming in to talk about insurance renewal. As you know, our insurance renews on June 1st. And today we did receive a request from Benefit Connections to update our census information, which that was done today. So we're getting everything together for healthcare renewal, and that comes up in July. The good news is our insurance payments for workers' comp and the borough insurance package are now paid up. The premiums are paid in full, so you will have no insurance premium payments to make until July, other than healthcare. The report of the tax collector for the month of March, bills went out March 1st. During the month of March, she did collect $47,767.91 in general fund taxes, and another $735 in occupational taxes. There is still a balance outstanding of borough taxes of $220,593. You can see we still have a lot of money to come in through the months of April and June. We also have $9,785 outstanding on occupational taxes. Sometime next week, we should receive our first payment from the Cumberland County Controller's Office of the delinquent taxes paid in the first quarter of this year. These would be 2020 taxes. So it's going to be interesting to see what that check will bring us. And I think that's all that I have on informational items for the meeting tonight. Do you have any questions on anything that I've covered so far?
So just to go over agenda or new business items, approve the purchase of a line painter for $3,700. What funds, is that general?
That would be general.
Approve, oh my, I can't read my writing. Was it 1,800 for flag supplies? That doesn't seem right.
That's right, $1,800 to Carrot Top.
All right, again, general fund.
Yes.
Okay. Approve the purchase of a new police vehicle financed through Mid-Penn Bank for $37,760 at 3.5% interest for 4 years with a $9,500 down payment from the American Rescue Plan monies. $18,892 to pave Church Alley and spot repairs to Capital Area Paving Incorporated. That's also general fund, right?
That's capital money for this year at general fund.
Okay. $3,500 to replace the cables and reset and to reset signals and hang signs to Pennsylvania Perks at the red light from and that's from highway aid funds.
That's right.
Approve a grant application to pave remaining dirt alleys in the borough. Who was that through, the application?
Actually, you've already approved that. So tonight I was just telling you that I've made the application. It was
Oh.
due.
So I don't need,
Tomorrow was the deadline, so it's been submitted.
okay, so we
County
don't need
has
to, we don't need to do anything with that then.
That's correct.
$1,900 to Alpha Space for thermal line painting, and is that highway aid funds?
That would be highway aid for the red light and South High Street.
Okay. And transfer $1,000 from the general fund to the police department debit card for the purchase of needed ammo. Anything else I'm missing?
The only thing I'd like to say on the public works projects, all these are covered in your budget this year. And if we approve them tonight, they will be spread out over the spring and summer. We're not going to do them all next week,
Sure.
but we won't have to come back now in future months. This is everything on our work agenda for spring and summer of 2021.
Super. Anything else for the agenda?
That's all.
All right. We will need an executive session. And I think that's it then. Okay.
You want to go over the balances or bills? I mean, you all have the treasurer's report there for February. But just quickly, your balances will be improving in general fund in March, along with the rental fund. Your street lighting fund is also funded through property taxes. And I think there's about $4,000 came in for street lighting. The fire tax, we should probably touch on this, Scott, and let everyone know that last night we met with a fire company and discussed their rescue engine. And Mr. Crouch tonight will be making a recommendation regarding the purchase of the rescue. And it's basically for the borough to provide $50,000 towards the purchase of that rescue engine. It will not be received until July of next year. The fire company has given us the option to pay the financing company directly. And so that I think would probably be the best course of action. Make a payment to them in June or July. That will still leave funds on hand of about $5,000, and then with the money coming in from this year's fire tax would be about another $10,000. We've also asked the fire company in the future if they're going to be purchasing any equipment and they would like to use the fire tax for that, to please provide a letter to the Borough Council to explain what it is that they wish to purchase and that they wish to encumber the fire tax monies. That way, the Borough Council has a letter on file to answer any questions that taxpayers may have as to how the money is being used, why is there such a large balance, and so forth. And then they did agree to that. The next purchase, I think, Scott, they mentioned was a engine 2, which is not until 2027 or 2028. The pension funds are doing fairly well. Both are showing positive growth. The non-uniform pension plan possibly by next month will top $500,000, which is really good news because last year at this time we were worrying about if we would have a pension plan. So On the list of bills, Ed Mill Fuels, DPW fuel for the trucks and tractors, $568.64. Co's Oil Service did provide oil for the police station, $561.60. Barrick Tire, tire repair and a battery maintainer, $52.95. Kent Fire Protection inspected the borough fire extinguishers, $481.75. JGF funding is the copier lease for the police station in borough, $269. Higher Information Group, color copy surcharges for the copiers, $113.52. L&N Automotive, $167.93 was to have the oil change, tire rotation, and they repaired headlights on the patrol car. Raybold Services, Calibrate Speed Equipment, $48. Dana Tech Security, the alarm contract for the borough office for the year, $380. Sentinel bid notice for North Corporation Street, $162.76. Pennsylvania Code Alliance Zoning Officer Services for the month of February, $371.25. U.S. Municipal Supply stop signs and parking signs purchased to repair signs that were either damaged by trucks or have been become faded and worn. $484.24 for the signs. Salzman Hughes is their COVID-19 update for the month, $30. Hoover's Plumbing repaired the furnace at the maintenance shed and cleaned it, $187.75. And Daco Uniform Rental for Public Works, $49.36. And MAB Paints, $290 for special paint for the fountain. Total general fund bills, $4,219.20. And we have no highway aid bills tonight.
Okay.
Any questions on the balances or the bills? One last item, you did receive a check from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for your turnback monies owed on Big Spring Avenue. You received $2,320, which was deposited to your highway aid account, and it'll show up on your balance next month. Any questions on quite a bit of items that we covered tonight?
Are they still planning on paving, the state paving those roads that we talked about last month?
Well, you know, they promised us in 2021 and 2022 they would come into town and pave, and so I'm hoping they do. I hope, you know, what you're hearing now is that the state is running out of money for paving projects, and so I hope that isn't the case when it comes to the borough. This is a good time to talk, Scott, about PennDOT and about two letters that we've sent to PennDOT that have gone unanswered. The first, if you recall, dealt with the drain, the cross drain up at Coe's Quarry that they're going to put across 641. And council had some concerns about the size of that pipe and what it might do to accelerate water flow into the borough. And, you know, we had requested a meeting with PennDOT, and they've yet to respond to that letter, which was sent out in the fall of last year. We also had sent a letter in January to PennDOT regarding problems with the trucks turning at the traffic light. Some requests were made for traffic bollards, additional signage, a meeting with PennDOT. We've yet to receive a response to that. Tonight, I'm going to read an email from our state senator. She did endorse the letter. She did send it on to PennDOT and is trying to make arrangements for PennDOT to address that letter and to meet with us. And to date, there's been no response. So just an update on a couple of those items with PennDOT that are still outstanding for the borough.
And I have down to put a discussion under old business for the street or for the red light under old business. So I'm not sure if Chief, if you're gonna still be on at that point, but I didn't want to put it under your report because it's not just a police issue. It involves many things. So
last Friday, Jody and I watched the tractor trailer come up West Street, went out Big Spring Ave somewhere. And we didn't get any calls. We didn't hear of any crashes. About 10 minutes later, the tractor trailer came down Glebe Alley next to the borough office. I looked out the window. There was the top of the truck, even with my office window. And then it made a left and went down to West Main Street. Last Friday night, I watched a truck from Smith Transport come into town, get hung up at the red light. I went on my way to Shippensburg, ended up behind the truck, down around Bull's Head Road. Out of nowhere came a Jeep. The Jeep ran the truck off the road, and I pulled back thinking there was going to be an accident. Apparently what happened was when this truck was stuck at the red light, he backed into the Jeep, which must have been parked on Main Street. So needless to say, there was another incident, as the chief has mentioned so many times. Just what the chief has said to us, Scott, in his email about trucks using the side streets. We saw it right here on Friday. More and more of it. So we really need to talk about posting these side roads, as the chief had recommended, local deliveries only, getting a traffic plan. We can't wait for PennDOT. We have to do this on our own. I don't think we're really going to get help from PennDOT, because when I called Perks about the traffic signal, I heard from them, this is common in Mechanicsburg, Carlisle. Everybody's having their issues with trucks. Mechanicsburg has had a building, I guess they have an intersection a lot like ours, where a truck has crashed into a building twice up there. So I think we have to do something, and we can't wait for PennDOT.
Okay.
Fred, I have a question. When you all talked to the fire company about the rescue truck, and then they talked about replacing an engine in, a couple of years, nothing was mentioned about the ambulances?
Nothing was mentioned about ambulances. It was, all of our discussion last night was fire. Darcy was not at the meeting. It was just Bradley and Trent.
Okay.
Fred, was there, when you said that the fire company is going to allow the borough to pay the financing company, I thought it wasn't a matter of them allowing us to do that, that from the very beginning, that's how it would be done. Was there a discussion where they had to be convinced to do that, or?
No, what they told us was that initially they made their request to us last month to provide the borough fire tax money as the down payment for the truck. And we discussed that at the last meeting, and there was some concern about the borough providing the down payment. So they went ahead. They've secured funding, a 2% loan, Scott, from the state for $200-some thousand. They've made I think $168,000 down payment on the truck, and then they financed the rest. So as I understood it, they have basically the financing in place for this vehicle. They took a 2% loan from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for $270,000. And the remainder is being funded by the fire company. And they also have gone out and talked to the townships to make donations to the fire truck. Did they say that West Pennsboro provided 90,000, 93,000?
92,000.
So what we are going to do is just pay the Kansas City Financing Company, something like that, a leasing company. They're going to provide us the exact name and the address, and our check will go to that financing company to pay for the debt service.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and close this one and we'll head off to the next one. See you all in a little bit. Settle down, Joey.